From a young age, we're taught that family is everything. That whatever happens, regardless of how they treat you, you must forgive. You must stay. You must endure all of this. But what happens if this loyalty is hurting you? What happens when love is used as a weapon? What happens when the people closest to you are the ones preventing you from becoming who you truly are? Carl Jung, one of the most important psychologists in history, understood this silent struggle. He didn't just explore the human mind. He discovered the hidden forces within families that keep us trapped. Guilt, shame, emotional manipulation, and unconscious wounds are passed down like family heirlooms. Jung didn't say to cut ties with people. He said to see clearly. And once you see clearly, you can't go back. This video isn't about rebellion. It's about self-respect. But before we continue, please like the video, share it with people who could benefit from it, and write in the comments which city you're following our YouTube channel from. It's about recognizing unacceptable behaviors even from those we love most, and having the courage to say, this is not love. This is no longer okay. Not anymore. First point, emotional manipulation. They say they love you, but that love has conditions. If you really cared about me, you'd do this. You're hurting me by living your own life. You're so selfish. It starts subtly. Imperceptible guilt trips, dramatic reactions, unspoken rules. But over time, you begin to shrink. You question yourself. You silence your needs just to keep the peace. Carl Jung called this phenomenon psychic possession. When another person's unresolved emotions take root in your mind and control your actions. Often this isn't done consciously. The parent or family member might believe they're helping you, but underneath is the refusal to face their own pain. And so they try to manage it through you. You become the emotional caretaker, the therapist, the scapegoat, or the savior. But none of these are your role. You weren't born to carry the emotional burden of another adult. If you tolerate emotional manipulation, you remain trapped in someone else's unconscious patterns, never free to write your own story. Recognizing this is the first step. You don't have to hate them, but you do have to stop feeding the cycle. Second point, suppression of your true self. Don't talk like that. Why do you always have to be so different? You're embarrassing us. Sometimes the most painful rejections don't come from strangers. They come from the people who raised us. They don't shout. They shame you. They mold you into what they think you should be while slowly erasing who you really are. Carl Jung believed that every human being was on a path toward individuation, the process of becoming complete, authentic, and truly oneself. But this path is often blocked by collective expectations, culture, religion, tradition, and yes, even family. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is becoming who you truly are." But what happens when your family sees that true self as a threat? Maybe you think differently, dress differently, choose a different career, or simply have a different soul. They try to mold you into an image that fits their comfort zone because your freedom reminds them of their own fear. But here's the truth. You're not here to be a mirror for someone else's comfort. You're not here to live a life following someone else's script. You're here to be whole. And anyone, family included, who demands that you dim your light doesn't truly love your real self. They love the version of you that makes them feel safe, and that's not enough. Third point, constant criticism disguised as concern. It's for your own good. I just don't want you to make a mistake. You're too sensitive. Some family members mask their cruelty in the language of love. Their words cut deep, but they were the mask of concern. They call it honesty. They call it care, but it never feels like either. Carl Jung warned us about the shadow, the dark and unconscious parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge. And here's the hard truth. People who constantly criticize you are often speaking to the parts of themselves they've disowned. When they say, "You'll never succeed doing that," they might be echoing their own failure they never made peace with. When they say you're not strong enough, they might be revealing their own fear of being powerless. But instead of healing, they project. They take what's broken in them and put it on you. And if you're not aware, you'll start believing that voice. You'll call it truth. You'll call it home. Jung believed that projection was one of the greatest barriers to self-awareness. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But when that irritation turns into constant criticism, it becomes a weapon. You don't owe anyone access to your mind, your dreams, or your heart, especially when they only use it to tear you down, even if they say they're just being honest. You can love someone deeply and still reject the roles they try to impose on you. The failure, the disappointment, the one who's never enough. You're not a canvas for someone else's shadow. Fourth point, guilt as a tool of control. You never call after everything I've done for you. If you leave, you'll break my heart. This isn't love. It's guilt wrapped in affection. It's not about connection. It's about control. Carl Jung understood how powerful guilt can be, especially when it comes from those we feel we owe our lives to, parents, siblings, elders. It feels like betrayal to say no. It feels like abandonment to create distance. But guilt isn't the same as morality. And guilt isn't the same as love. When someone uses guilt to manipulate your choices, they're asking you to abandon yourself to comfort them. But the cost is enormous. You lose your sense of direction. You hesitate before every decision. You ask yourself, will this make them angry? Instead of, is this right for me? And over time, you begin to live someone else's life, a ghost of your own desires. Breaking this pattern doesn't make you ungrateful. It makes you awake. Because true love doesn't punish you for growing. True love says, I want you to be free, even if it's uncomfortable for me. Those who make you feel guilty for staying small might never change, but you can. Fifth point, verbal and emotional abuse normalized as that's just how they are. They didn't mean it. It's just their way of talking. It's simply their personality. How many times have you heard this? How many times have you told yourself this? Carl Jung understood that what we normalize in childhood we carry into adulthood as familiar. And what's familiar often feels like love. But here's the truth. Being constantly insulted, yelled at, ignored, or rejected isn't love. It's abuse. Even if it's not physical, even if it's just words. When someone repeatedly crosses your emotional boundaries, shames you, manipulates you, mocks your pain, and then expects forgiveness without change, they're not loving you. They're controlling you. Jung often spoke of the wounded inner child, the part of us that continues to seek love in the places where we first experienced pain. And so many of us keep returning to relationships that echo those wounds. Not because we're weak, but because we were never taught what true safety feels like. And here's the terrifying part. The longer you stay in these dynamics, the more likely you are to believe you deserve them, that this is simply what love is. But Jung would tell you otherwise. He would tell you that the most courageous act isn't to endure more suffering. It's to break the cycle. To say, I see what this is. I will not inherit this pain. And I will not pass it on. Even if it's family. Even if you love them. Even if they never understand. Because your peace isn't a betrayal. It's a beginning. You're not selfish for protecting your peace. You're not cruel for setting boundaries. And you're not broken for walking away from people who refuse to see you clearly. Carl Jung's work reminds us that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. But that's where healing begins. Not in fixing others. Not in waiting for apologies that might never come. But in saying, I deserve better even if no one ever told me that, because respect, safety, and love are not negotiable. Not anymore. So here's your permission. Stop shrinking. Stop explaining. Stop tolerating. You were never meant to live in someone else's shadow. You were meant to become whole. As we've seen today, Carl Jung's wisdom reminds us that our mental and emotional health is sacred. No one, not even family, has the right to manipulate, diminish, or control who we truly are. If this message spoke to you, please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this truth, and subscribe to the channel for more videos that empower your mind and spirit. And in the comments below, I'd love to hear from you. What has been your experience setting boundaries in family or close relationships? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.